It says that the jump for those favoring allowing same-sex couples to marry rocketed from 27 to 50% in 2022. So you have 50% of members of the church that think that it's okay to have unnatural affection marriages.
How many percentage?
50%. Half of the members of the church believe in same-sex marriage. Nope. Well, according to the survey.
Wait a minute. No.
Press.
Okay, Ben, welcome back to the program. We are discussing today. Do you want me to pull it up?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. How are you?
Fantastic. How are you?
Good. Probably not fantastic, but I'm good. I'm not a morning. I used to be a morning person, but this seminary thing, I'm so thankful that spring break is coming up. So thankful.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So study shows this is, where are we getting this from? Wayback Machine.
From the Salt Lake Tribune. So this is a little tip and trick for you guys. This is called the Wayback Machine, where there are websites like the Tribune. There are other news, quote unquote, news websites that are, pay to play. And so if you just put the link into the Wayback Machine, you can access these articles without having to subscribe to their website.
So how old are some of these articles?
Oh, this is March 19th. So yes, this is yesterday for us while we're recording.
So why do they call it the Wayback Machine?
Because it saves websites that are like, so the Salt Lake Tribune only allows you 3 free articles a month. And so if you look at more than 3 articles, or there are some of them that are for subscribers only, like if you're not paying them the $2 a month, you can't read that article at all. And this is one of them. And so if you put it at the Wayback Machine, it actually grabs the image of the article and puts it on the internet for you to be able to view without paying the Tribune.
Okay. Interesting. All right.
So this was an article that talks about, so a new study just came out that says that members of the church are more opening to the community with unnatural affection. And it shows in the article, if you, let's see here, I'll just stick to your screen. Scroll down a little bit. It's changed where it says right here on the top of the article, it says that they had 2 options, right? Where they said, leave the church and marry, or stay and marry men and remain and live a celibate life. And then they decided that they didn't like any of those options. They're like, okay, we're not going to leave the church. We're not going to just leave the church, and we're not going to remain in the church and live a celibate life. They said, okay, we have a 4th option, and that is to get married, quote unquote married. I don't think that's marriage. They're going to get a government marriage, and then they're going to stay active in the church.
Now, I'm not sure. I don't live in Utah. Have they allowed gay marriage there? I know California.
Well, back in 2000, I think it was 2015, there was a Supreme Court mandate that states capitulated to, saying that they had to get rid of their laws against banning marriages, and so they were forced into, well, I think they could have nullified, but they feel that they were forced to comply with the Supreme Court.
Now, I will say that I'm going to take a wild guess, because I know people in the church that have children and grown children. Mm-hmm. I've got a friend in the church right now that has a son that is a police officer who is gay. He's not active in church. The police officer, his parents are.
Right.
He grew up in the church. He comes like at Christmas and different times like that. Really nice guy. He's actually a Republican. He's voting. He's very conservative when it comes to that, which is, I know, confusing because we've gotten to the point where people, like the Rubin report. What's his name? Dave Rubin. Mm-hmm. It's Dave Rubin. Not sure. where he is a conservative. And but I'm going to take a wild guess and say that this support for the LGBTQ community is not is it doesn't necessarily imply that they are supporting them being all the way completely married and things like that. I think it means, wouldn't you say it means more of a um, inclusion as not discriminating against them? Do you know what I'm
in
saying?
in the public sphere, that's a big part of it, but there is also a part of it where like they're as we see in another article, that it is getting more into their full activity and supporting of them, especially if you look at the like BYU right now. 20% of BYU identifies outside of the straight identity.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's because of the fad. I think it's because of the LGBTQ narrative that's being pushed, the agenda.
Yeah.
And a lot of those people are going to come out of that deep uh, mind. What
Yeah.
do you call it? That deep delusion that they're in?
They're entrenched in
Um,
government schools, and so you send your kids to Roman schools and they come back Romans. That's just
Absolutely.
the way it is.
Right. Did you want me to scroll down?
Yeah, just a little bit. You go and let's see here. I'm
Tell
trying
me
to
when
look
to
at the
stop.
yeah, right. Just stop right there. It says so according to this study, you have the 3% of Latter Day Saints identify. So this is the church as a whole, not BYU, and slightly less than white end of evangelicals and Protestants, which are 4%. And so, but
So
Unitarians are
that's not
30.
just a BYU, right?
Yeah,
3%
that's just,
as a
and that's
whole.
not just a certain age group. That's right. That's from 0 to 100, right?
And what boggles my mind is where do they get these stats, and who's going to church being active in church saying I'm a Latter-day Saint, but I identify as LGBTQ?
Yeah, you'd have to
Because you
look
would
at the
think
study
that
and see what their metrics are for sure.
well, and then how many are on the records of the church that are baptized that don't go to church that also identify as that?
Right.
You
Well, I
know,
think they in the study they asked them what do you identify as religiously. So yeah,
okay. So they're being very outspoken about it. What I'm
right,
saying is they aren't afraid. They're not pulling back off
right,
of, well, I don't affiliate with any religion. Like some people will go, they won't be active anymore and they'll not identify as a Latter-day Saint. These people are actually saying, I identify as Latter-day Saint and I
exactly,
am I am of this group.
exactly.
That's that's alarming. Sorry. Go
I
ahead.
agree. Yes,
Because
and
that's not a
so
point three, brothers and sisters. That's 3%.
right, yeah, three out of every of every age, and I'm going to tell you that skyrockets when you put it into the like 15 to 25 range.
Yeah.
And so they go down to theory number one. Many Latter-day Saints and especially women just don't know that they're queer. What does that even mean? I thought they were born that way, first of all, right? With the law of chastity and purity culture, you're discouraged from exploring and thinking about sexuality, whether homo or hetero. As a
Well, they're
result,
saying it's not a social construct, but it is. That's the mind-boggling thing. It used to be you're born this way.
right,
Now it's you can choose to be whatever you want, and I choose to be queer.
right,
Now the word queer means something completely different than what it used to mean 20 years ago.
yep,
And even your regular your regular gay people are can't stand this group now anymore.
hmm,
It's just everything is just topsy-turvy.
yeah. So as a result, the two said many are 20 years deep into marriage before they realize, oh my, that's so ridiculous. So theory number two has to do with what many see as the church's less than affirming policies, which they said lead a number of members to walk away from the faith after coming out. Church leaders have repeatedly affirmed the belief that marriage is between man and a woman, for a time labeling those who marry someone as same sex as apostates and discouraged social or surgical transitioning or for transgender members. So once
That's
individuals identify, they no longer see remaining in the church as an option.
But we're going to leave out that it's growing because there's a neo-Marxist agenda that
Of course, yeah, of course.
has pushed this.
That
That the
could never be
media,
the option.
doesn't have, and social media has nothing to do with this, right?
Or as Alex Jones would say, they're turning the frogs gay.
Right. Turn the
Um,
freaking frogs gay. Frogs gay. Frogs gay. They turn the freaking frogs gay.
so
And
it's
then now
less.
they're going, Alex, we were calling, sorry, I didn't mean to
Yeah, no,
sidetrack.
you're good.
We were calling him a conspiracy theorist, not we, but
Yeah,
people, the
the
media
idea.
7 years ago. And now they're going, he was right. But he's a conspiracy theorist on all this other stuff. Anyway, go
On
ahead.
everything new.
Right.
So it's less that LDS people don't identify. Go back up.
Whoop. Okay.
So right there. No. Okay. So nope. Back up. Okay, right there. Nope. Up. Scroll. Nope. Like make it go. Yeah, further down. Sorry.
What?
Further right there. Just stop right there. Okay.
Okay.
So it's less that LDS people don't identify as queer and more that queer people don't identify as LDS. Finally, experience has taught women that social costs involved in coming out is simply too high for many Latter-day Saints who choose to remain closeted. So they're saying, why is the LDS so low compared to other religions and just the population at large? And they're saying that it's because, and it's I guess it's lower than the population, but it's much higher than it has been. It is growing. It says
See,
I have a. Go ahead.
but just real quick, this is what happens when you ignore people from the past that said there's an agenda and it's on its
Yeah.
way. Communism is here. But that's radical talk. And
Right.
the church doesn't want to recognize that. So we're going to recognize this like this is just something by happenstance. This is just something natural occurred in the world. And it's just everybody just decided to come out of the closet. And there's a big percentage of them. But not just that. What does queer mean? What is the LGBTQ community? Like somebody said, there's parodies on this where they're like, I'm not gay, I'm straight. And my wife, what does it go? This is my wife who used to be a man, but I'm not gay.
Right.
But it's just crazy. Anyway, go ahead.
Pound world. So he says, I have a few friends who have told me in the past that they think they might be bisexual or the spectrum, but that isn't worth diving into because acknowledging it doesn't make their lives easier. So they don't even know what they are. So the idea that they were born into it is obviously they're at some spectrum, like the autism spectrum, right? There's just some wide range of, it's not just gay or straight, you're gender fluid and all that kind of stuff.
Well, what's sad is a lot of these people are on the spectrum as far as being autistic. They've done some studies, and that's because they're easily convinced. A lot of people that are on the autistic spectrum, they want to be included in some kind of group. They have social anxiety, and they're not good with just public speaking, a lot of them. So they go into these forums or there's chat groups, or they belong. They find it interesting to become part of these furry communities.
Well, you're preferred. You get attention. You get propped up. And so, in today's culture, it's, it is the thing to do. You're like, I'm not conforming, I'm special, and everybody's paying attention to me. And until the 1970s, so it was considered a mental illness. This unnatural affection was considered a mental illness. And it was not until there was violent lobbying of the psychology board that it was removed from the list of mental illnesses. And so we can see that, in addition to their unnatural affection, there is a natural tendency to have other psychological issues, which are preceding and exacerbated by their unnatural affection relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sad. And I really believe that this is by design.
Absolutely.
As far as we talk about conspiracies, and I always tease you about being conspiratorial more than me, but I would go as far as to say creating a people that have autism may be through the jab,
Mm-hmm.
other jabs. When I say the jab, I mean like other jabs that have come, and there are theories that maybe that has caused autism.
Yeah.
But then there's parents out there that will be offended by what I just said, and others that completely agree. Uh, and then you get society like that, or a marginalized part of society, which is growing. It's not even marginalized anymore. More and more kids, like 1 out of 5 deacons passing sacrament, have autism. Like I kid you not. In the 80s, that you didn't see that as
It
much.
was the exception as opposed to the rule. Well,
Right.
and you shove especially a young boy in a classroom and make him sit still for 8 hours a day, and then he won't do it, and so you pump him full of drugs. It's a recipe for disaster.
Absolutely. And then you get them in a group like this,
Yeah.
which isn't, it's not even about homosexuality anymore. Saying that you're queer could mean any one of those things in the acronym. And it's just because they're not, I'm not saying that being gay is any better. It's really not. But what I will say is a lot of these gay people are making a point will laugh at this and go, look, they're not even really, a lot of these people will be like, they're some of them are asexual. Uh, they call themselves non-binary, and it's just a weird. What it is, it's you are you're the brown shirts. This is the brown shirts of today
Absolutely.
because they can get them to be what's next. Join Antifa, do these other things.
Yeah.
You know, they're still uh spouting out the neo-Marxist talking points
Right.
on social media. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
And it's enforced. You talk about the brown shirts, you can't say even certain words anymore without I've had certain posts of mine on social media removed because I used and I don't want to ruin your channel, but I've used words that is the traditional description of cross dressers. And so it's they 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 are enforcing their will upon others, and so changing the culture so
Yeah.
that it will normalize unnatural behavior.
I miss days where we watched Birdcage. That was a funny movie. And with Robin Williams.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You're not laughing. You're like, I
I
don't
never saw
find
the
it.
movie. I just remember
It's
it
funny
existing.
because or Tu Wong Fu, it showed men, it was satirical because that wasn't the norm.
Mm-hmm.
And in the old days, you would be like, you're a man, like a cross dresser, right? You're a man.
Yeah.
Yep. I like to dress like a woman. And they knew they had to, that's just the way it was. So he's like, all right, you go hang out in the red light district and I'll be over here reading my
It was like
newspaper.
Klinger from MASH, right?
Right, right. It was funny. It was funny. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and go on the shifting attitude section.
Okay.
So it says in 2015, 38% of Latter-day Saints opposed religious-based refusals. And by 2023, it's 41% supported. So this is legislation that says that you no longer have a right of freedom of association. You are forced, if you are a property owner, like, and a lot of people in Utah, they own a home and they'll rent out their basement. And so you're a single mother with children and you want to be able to protect your children. And so you're saying, no, there's only a certain group of people that I want to associate with. I want to have living in my same house. I'm not going to rent to certain individuals. The state of Utah passed legislation with support from the church that said, no, you're not allowed to do that. As an employer, if you have a certain kind of business that you do not want certain individuals to work with you, this legislation passed and said, no, you have to.
What do you mean the church supported that?
They came out with an official statement supporting that legislation.
All right, let me look that up. I'm sorry, I have to do that.
Yeah. Not just look up LDS Church supports
Or is it right
non-discrimination.
here?
Yeah.
Is there a link?
Yeah, just click on it'll be just click on it.
Okay, this was also Utah ranks second in nation for supporting laws that protect LGBTQ community. So this is it.
Yeah.
LDS Church, LGBT advocates back anti-discrimination religious rights bill. So they're saying that if you're an employee of the church,
No,
that
so
you
the church
can't,
came out, the church itself as an institution came out
and said, we
and
back this bill.
correct.
Now, I understand non-discrimination, meaning, don't discriminate, but what does that mean, right? What
Right.
are
It
you
means
implying? It's saying that you're not allowed.
Governor Cox. That's the evil guy right there.
Yep.
So it's basically saying you can't not rent to somebody. No, I understand
you
the
can't
bill,
use
but
that
what
as
are
a
they?
reason why. If they find
what
out
are
that the
some of
reason
their
why you didn't rent to
examples?
them was because of that, then you're in trouble.
You can not rent to somebody for any reason you don't want to rent to somebody.
I agree. That's called freedom of association. But
this is getting wacko.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm sorry. I don't go for that. That's taking people's agency away.
Right.
Okay. I don't know how much of the church, I'm not going to go there because I don't know how much of the church actually came out and said, I would like to. Well, I guess I should read this, right? Troy, read that.
There was a big press conference. You had L. Tom Perry there and others that were of the senior officials of the church that came out.
It says Christofferson said some people will criticize the bill, but it contains strong religious freedom protections.
Meaning for institutions, not for individuals. So churches didn't have to hire these people, but individuals that own businesses were not protected. Only religious institutions.
Where does it give an example of like on a single, like a person? In other words, not an institution, which is weird. You'll protect the institutions, say they have a right to not accept these individuals, but you as a citizen,
business owner, whatever,
a small business owner. So I can't not make a cake.
Very good. Very good. You know something? No soup for you. Come back 1 year. Next.
A wedding cake?
Yeah.
It goes back to the wedding cake thing when you think
Absolutely.
about it.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wow. I'd like to read through this more because I know we don't have time today. We have other news we got to get to later. But
it started on the local level in 2009.
Let's see. People of faith can act like people of faith. They can talk like people of faith. What does that mean?
It means you can talk and you can act whatever you want to, but when you're dealing with the business, then you have to do business with everybody.
Senator Steve, I don't know how to pronounce that.
Urquhart
said the bill drives a spike into the idea that religious liberties and gay rights can't coexist. He has run legislation seeking to prohibit discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity for 3 years. He said he was excited about excluding the religious
including.
Sorry. What is wrong with me? He said he was excited. You're like, nope, Troy, stop. Reverse that and say it right. Oh, excluding. Okay, moving on. No. He said he was excited about including the religious protections. What does he mean by that?
Meaning the institution protections, the organized religions are allowed to.
But when you get into this is mucky because I know dang well a guy that's been involved with this has probably unrighteously judged some people.
Oh yeah.
Well, I don't care what their reason was for not wanting to service someone, but no pun intended.
Let me scratch that. Reverse that.
Actually, I might leave that in. So their reasons for not. Okay, give me an example. A cake.
Of what?
Right?
Yeah.
Or
okay. Cake. Yeah.
Renting to someone. You're a hotel. You're an apartment owner. Or no, you own real estate. Like you're renting homes.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't want to rent to this person for whatever reason. Let's say they're gay, but you don't want to rent to them because they have a lot of cats and you don't
Right.
want cats
Right.
and dogs, pets, right?
Right.
Then somebody like this comes around and goes, no, it's because they were gay. But what you're doing is you're the mind police now.
Yeah, it's exactly right.
You're going into my mind and saying, I'm going to say that this is because of this. And you're going, so what if it was because of this?
Right.
So what? Now, I wouldn't personally do that just because somebody was, because they're gay.
I think if there's a black guy that doesn't want to rent to white people, that is his God-given right.
Well, right. It is just like we go back to God-given rights of people to say what they want. It's your First Amendment right.
If somebody doesn't want to rent to Mormons, that's fabulous. I think it's not great in the sense that, it's great that they would do that, but I think it's great that he has the freedom to do so.
What does this say? Employers this would prohibit employers from discriminating against job applicants
and employees based on gender identity and sexual orientation.
See, they're already
right
assigning this to a motive. They're saying we're gonna decide what motive is. And
in gender identity, right? You hired somebody to do a specific job, like that they are. I'm trying to think of there's a certain clientele. You're looking for a woman to do a job, and that is the clientele of your business, and then a man comes in and says that they're a woman and they want to do the same job, and that's not what your clientele is looking for. It's not going to work.
Right. Like, let's say you do photography and you want somebody to act as the bride.
Right.
And it's a photography for wedding dresses or whatever. Yeah. And they're like, well, I had a sex change. Well, no, I want a woman with real hips. No, really.
Yeah, no, I agree. Exactly.
I'm an artist. Okay. I took classes in college. I took art in college a little bit. And some people don't know this, but drawing the human anatomy, that was my favorite class. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. They had clothes on. All right. But anyway, drawing the real female you learn the anatomy. Mm-hmm. Okay. Men that, I don't care how many hormone pills you take, you're not going to be, and it doesn't matter. I'm the artist. If I want a real female to model these wedding dresses that I'm going to be sketching or photographing or whatever, who are they to say, no, this is discrimination?
Or I own an independent Christian bookstore.
And I don't want somebody in the LGBTQ community representing my bookstore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you know what? We've been so brainwashed that I literally just said they're assigning motive. Like, why would that matter? I'm not saying we're hateful. Brothers and sisters, Ben and I are not hateful. Okay. We love people. Ben's like, speak for yourself.
I think people need to be called to repentance, but I think that's love. So I agree with you.
My point is, who care? When I say we've been brainwashed, what I'm saying is, in the old days, I remember even the 80s.
Yeah.
It didn't matter what your motive was even.
Right.
I'm already brainwashed enough to say, well, it doesn't mean that they're discriminating against this.
Right.
But in the old days, our founding fathers would look at me and go, who cares?
Right.
As long as you're not infringing on the rights of others. As long as I'm not taking somebody else's rights away because I don't like their lifestyle.
Right. I can't use the power of government to take away somebody's rights. But as an individual, I don't have to give you access to my property.
But then again, some on the left will argue, look, there was a time where the right used to say things against people that were too radical, were too left. And, look at McCarthy, and people like that in the old days where
McCarthy was right.
Well, yes, I agree with that. He was right. but but there was kind of a witch hunt when it came to people's, these movie stars had a right to speak their mind about believing in communism if they wanted to, just like we have a right to speak our minds about our ideologies. Do you disagree?
Yeah.
Why?
In the Book of Mormon, Moroni said that you are going to fight for freedom or you are going to be killed.
I
You
mean,
have
I
the
don't know.
chance,
Teach
right?
me. I'm asking a legitimate.
Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead.
And so there, I think that's a perfect example of you do not have a right to undermine a system of good government and bring in a tyranny. You don't
I
have a
know,
right
but
to
I
do
thought
that.
I have the right to speak. If then, why do people have the right to march like neo Nazis, even as small as they are? They have a
Right.
right to believe in what they want, right?
I
In
can't control
America.
belief, but when you start acting on that belief and trying to encourage a
Well,
movement to
that's what I'm
destroy
saying. Were
liberty,
these movie stars acting on that belief?
right. And so I would say that they were part of a movement. They were funding a movement that was undermining and infiltrating the government. So,
Okay, if they're part, that's where we draw the line. But
right.
we will defend the right of somebody that has a YouTube channel that talks about communism being a great government. No,
I think it's a gray area when you start to work to change because they're
well,
trying to get rid
then
of,
do you
they're trying to
understand
influence.
where you go wrong there, though, brother? That's why. How? No, listen. I'm
Yeah.
just being the devil's advocate
Yeah.
right
Which
now.
is
I
good.
know we weren't going to go this far, but now I got to say this.
Yeah.
Who are we then to say that that's how the deep state justifies what they do to us?
There, because it's that, it's
The
the whole
deplorables,
adage.
the nationalists, the white
Right.
Christian nationalists, they're dangerous.
It's the
Can we
whole
be
adage
dangerous
of
though?
what's that?
In a sense, a far right extreme agenda can be dangerous. It can turn into fascism.
Well, that's a false left-right paradigm. The real paradigm is total government versus no governments, anarchy, lawlessness versus total totalitarian government. Fascists and communists are both on the total side of government. And so the idea of fascists on the right and communists on the left is a
No, I know
government
that.
manipulated.
I'm saying, okay, but what I'm saying is, I always thought that the libertarian, for instance,
yeah,
believed that we have a right to speak. The Constitution defends our right to speak about any ideology, right?
the First Amendment says that the Congress shall make no law regarding that. Sure.
So where do we draw the line?
Well, that was something that Thomas Jefferson and John Adams were very much adamant, at heads about.
Interesting. I did not know that. So
so there was a time period where they were good friends, and then Thomas Jefferson got into with the Jacobins and the French Revolution, and they were coming into America, and George Washington was warning about them and talked about the Whiskey Rebellion was influenced by the Jacobins. And so you have the Alien and Sedition Act, which a lot of libertarians will say is unconstitutional, and that's what Thomas Jefferson was. But John Adams was saying, no, we cannot let a conspiracy to come in and use their speech to undermine a free government. And so that's what the Alien and Sedition Act was all about, was routing out this conspiracy to undermine constitutional government. And then,
right.
And so they became really angry at each other about this. And so it wasn't until after Thomas Jefferson's term as president that they were able to make up, because Thomas Jefferson came to Adams and said, I apologize. I was wrong. I didn't understand what the French Revolution was really all about, the underlining, principles behind it and what was really going on. And they were able to reconcile in their latter years. And so I think it goes back to that argument between Jefferson and Adams.
Okay, so I don't think nationalism today, what we see as our national, our Christian nationalists today, is dangerous. I don't think that. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
So how would you explain that difference to somebody that might have been just bringing up what I just did? Like
the The
Like
difference
if we're going to
between
say this group, in other words, is the left just just interpreting the Constitution what am I
yeah, they're
trying to
doing
say?
it to be able to
So
allow
that
for
they could say that our ideology is dangerous to the
yeah. So
Constitution.
because we're subverting their form of government, they want to stop us, but they want us to allow their form of government to be able to flourish. And so they want to be able to have their free speech protections,
which is really not constitutional at all.
right? And so they get to implement their tyranny under the guise of free speech, and they get to silence us who are trying to defend liberty and as people that as hate speech, or whatever.
So
it is.
when would a group that would you say on the right? I know there's no right left paradigm when it comes to fascism and
right.
Totalitarianism is totalitarianism, period.
Yes.
Right. It doesn't go, it's not like hot water becomes boiling water and then cold water becomes freezing
cold water. Right. It gets too hot, it gets cold.
Boiling
right?
water is fascism. The freezing water is communism.
Right.
No, anything that is wrong thinking can become tyrannical. But my point is where would you say a group that identifies I would say neo-Nazism would be if they were trying to take, I don't know, where would you, okay, that's kind of a stupid, where would you say it would become dangerous of a group that kind of identifies on the far right? I'm sorry, when would it become where these people need to be stopped?
When they're promoting the undermining of free government.
And we don't do that. So that is the difference between somebody that would just have a YouTube channel and promote communism.
Or I guess you could talk about it as a political theory and just put it out there. But as soon as you start saying this is the form of government that should be and it is superior, you're undermining free government. You're trying to bring about a tyranny.
Okay, so what about then people that talk about slavery? What about people that think slavery should exist and they start talking about it? Should they be stopped? Should their First Amendment right be stopped?
There is, you look at the Old Testament.
I'm not asking you any belief. I'm not.
Right.
I'm not.
Should they be stopped? So I don't think, because that would mean that you could not preach the Old Testament. And so I would say that no, because the Old Testament had rules for
when you're talking about slaves. The norms of servitude and how it has been acceptable in societies at one time.
And so if you prevent the discussion of slavery, you're preventing the discussion of the Bible.
Okay, but what about somebody that wants to talk about communism? Oh, as long as they're not promoting it.
If they say this is a political theory.
Right. Okay. But see, this is what I didn't know. I thought that our First Amendment right protected us in believing in any form of government.
Well, they can't stop this. Thought control.
Even if it's not our form of government.
Well, not just like constitutional government, right? The Constitution and the free government, right? I would say that, well, the founding fathers said you can't have a free government without morality. And so if you're undermining morality, you're undermining free government. And so that's just, that you have there's no thought police. They're not going around and telling you asking you what you believe. That's what this gets into. This legislation we're talking about gets into the thought police. Gets into thought control. Why are you doing what you're doing? Not what are you doing? Is what you're doing bad? It's why are you doing it?
I know, but what about people that have been arrested in the past for writing books about Fidel Castro being a great guy?
Right. That means you want that kind of government in the United States. You're trying to bring that about.
Yeah, but what if you believe that form of government is right?
That's why we believe in the ability and the freedom to be able to choose and to travel to places that have that type of tyranny, and that we will not allow it here, but you're free to go where those and build somewhere else where there's no government or there's people that believe that.
That's my point, folks, because I agree with that. My point is that we have created a specific form of government here that we all agreed on. It doesn't matter whether you think it's right or wrong. We agreed on it a long time ago. Okay. And now if you don't abide by it and you think that it should be altered or changed, then we have a problem. So
Right.
when people say that Christian nationalism is a threat to America, show me the proof. There is
It's a
no
threat to their
proof.
America, the America that they've built. So yes.
Right. Exactly. All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I said we weren't going to get on any tangents, and we did. That should be its own video, actually. All right. Anyway, are we done with this one?
With this one, well, just
Sorry.
so it's showing that this. Let's go back
Tell
to
me
the
to
article.
scroll up or down.
No, just the other article.
This one or this one? Oh, right here.
Yeah.
Possible reasons.
So scroll up. Shifting attitudes right there. So that's where we were. We're talking about how in 2015, 38% of Latter-day Saints opposed legislation that would, force businesses like the cake maker to turn away business. To 2023, where now 41% would oppose your right to refuse business. So there is a growing percentage of individuals that say, no, you don't have the freedom to choose. And so support for non-discrimination protections ticked up from 72 to 78%. So 78% of LDS individuals believe that you should not be able to decide who you want to associate with. And so
how are they going to monitor that?
They just ask you your of who you. What do you mean monitor what?
I'm saying nobody. That's thought policing again. Anyway,
oh, exactly. Yeah.
We're okay. Yeah.
And
what
so
I'm saying is,
they
how
will
can
say,
they monitor
so they
that?
will monitor it where I come to you and I say, hey, make my Che Guevara cake, and you say no. They're going to say, oh, that's because you.
Che Guevara? What is that? What's a
Che Guevara?
Yeah.
He's a famous militant communist from South America back in the 60s and 70s.
Okay.
So instead of a gay cake, right, it's a Che Guevara cake.
Lola. Hello, LA, Lola. Lola.
And then we have here, far noticeable was the favor of allowing same-sex.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
I'm going to just say this real quick. At least in that song, he called him a man.
It says that the jump for those favoring allowing same-sex couples to marry rocketed from 27 to 50% in 2022. So you have 50% of members of the church that think that it's okay to have unnatural affection marriages.
How many percentage?
50%. Half of the members of the church believe in
Are you
same-sex
kidding
marriage. Nope. Well, according to the survey.
Wait a minute. No. That's not anybody that comes on my channel. I don't see anybody commenting. What I'm saying is, do you think these studies are accurate?
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
no, I know, but I don't think 50% of the membership of the church believes that. I think it's a smaller number, way smaller number than that. I think these are fudged.
Just looking at the population.
Are they asking people on the street but look, if they're asking people in Salt Lake that don't even go to church anymore, and then all they do
identify as members of the church, though. That's what they're asking.
What
when
church
they're interviewing
were you
people.
baptized in? Mormon church. Yes, but do you understand how people forge the numbers? They do.
Sure, but that would be an impossibility to be able to really judge, because they're not going to get church records of people that attend church, once a month or more and have a temple recommend. This is people, they're asking people, what religion do they identify as, and what is your belief on gay marriage?
I would say, though, the left does do things like
they want to propagandize people.
They can ask some knucklehead on the street, what church were you? Do you think people should be married? Yeah, of course. Of course.
Well, let me just take it away from the religious side.
Are you a Mormon? Yeah, I don't go to church, but I'm a Mormon. Yeah, I was born.
But just take the religious aspect out of it. In the state of Utah, most Republicans voted for and which are going to be mostly LDS, but Republicans, the Republican Party itself, and the activists, the active conservative Republicans in the state of Utah, all voted to support, as a party, gay marriage. And so the Republicans, so
that's true.
I think that reflects the population
and
at
maybe
large.
they're just not voicing it at
What's that?
church. Maybe
right,
there's
yeah.
people in my congregation that believe that someday, well, I've got that guy I told you that has a son.
You go to like San Francisco wards and that kind of stuff. I think you're going to see a much different
They
attitude.
honestly believe that someday their friends are going to get married in the temple.
Absolutely.
But the brethren are like, I'm not kidding. That's not
and this is distinction. They're not saying that
happen.
the majority think that they should have a temple marriage. They're saying that the government should allow them to have a marriage license.
Marriage period.
Certificate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So,
okay.
So it's just the article is
we've
showing,
gotten away from Proposition 8.
Right.
Way far away from that when Gordon B. Hinckley was prophet and we were saying define marriage. Call this a civil. Now, if they said, do they have a right to have a civil union? I'd be like, yeah, they could do whatever they want.
Well, the church actually came out with an article about that. And they said that's a distinction without a difference. And they oppose civil unions.
Oh, well, then there it is there. So that means people are going against the church.
And that's what we're seeing is that population, especially when you bring in the college age. If 20% of BYU students identify as one of these groups, you're seeing a growing number of and so if you've got 20% that are this way, that means they have a lot of friends that are not, and they're welcoming them. And so it's bringing a culture shift within the church to be accepting of what the scriptures say is an abomination.
Yeah. Right.
And so you have this cultural shift that is, I think, becoming clear, where members are becoming more and more acceptable of things that the scriptures say are unacceptable.
It's not an abomination, Ben. That was just cultural. Okay.
Everything that's normal now that was bad before is cultural.
That prophet.
God just needs to catch up with the times, man.
Noah was just a product of his time. He wasn't born in a cultural vacuum, Ben.
Right.
You don't know that? Just like
Abraham condemning Sodom and Gomorrah.
Why don't we just say pedophilia too? You know?
What's that?
There. Why don't we just say pedophilia also?
Oh, right. Well,
the Romans did it, Ben.
For sure.
The Romans had all bunch of little naked boys running around.
It's normal.
It's normal. Leave these good people alone to destroy the minds and wills and souls of children.
Like the whole, they're like, they use this psychological manipulation of, if you don't like gay marriage, don't do it. Don't get gay married. It's like, no, this is an abomination. And there's a reason why certain, punishments, and you look at Moses 5:51 and what the scriptures say about a population that has been, overcome by this lifestyle. It is a sign that it has been overcome and controlled by this combination. It's just a fact.
Bill Murray, I keep thinking of because I was going to say Jesus Christ is coming. This is it. This is horrible. And Bill Murray in Ghostbusters, where he's like, whoa, somebody's coming.
So be good. For goodness sake. Whoa, somebody's coming.
We have to get out of here. We've got to find a judge or something.
Hey, wait a minute. Hey.
All right. Take care.